Maybe try getting a real job like normal people, Brenda announced across the country club brunch table, waving her mimosa for emphasis while my father studied his eggs Benedict like it contained the secrets of the universe. This consulting nonsense, what even is that? Walking into companies and telling them what to do? Please. The question that made me set down my coffee wasn't whether to reveal I.D. just closed the acquisition of her company, but whether she.D. recognized me when I walked into her office as the new owner in 48 hours. I like consulting, I said mildly, spreading jam on my toast. It's flexible. Flexible is code for unemployable, Brenda declared, touching up her lipstick between critiques. David, tell your daughter about real careers. Stable careers. Like mine in pharmaceutical sales. Dad shifted uncomfortably. We'd been through this routine for 6 months, ever since he married Brenda after a whirlwind romance that began at his retirement party and ended at a Vegas chapel. She was 15 years younger, ambitious, and very concerned about the family image. Samantha does well for herself, Dad offered weakly. Does she though? Brenda examined me over her designer sunglasses. That Honda in the parking lot, is that yours? It must be 10 years old. And consulting, what does that even mean? Do you have health insurance? A 401k? A future? I manage, I said. Managing isn't thriving, sweetie. Look, I get it. Not everyone can handle corporate life. The pressure, the competition, the real responsibility. But maybe try starting somewhere entry-level? I could put in a word at MedTech Corporation. We always need administrative assistants. That's kind of you. Someone has to look out for you. Clearly, your father's been too soft. Letting you drift through your 30s with no direction. I'm 28. Even worse. These are your prime earning years. While you're consulting, I'm pulling in 6 figures plus bonuses. Just last quarter, I moved $3.2 million in products. That's real contribution to society. Selling opioids is definitely a contribution, I agreed. Her face flushed. Pharmaceutical solutions for legitimate pain management. And it's honest work. Transparent. Not like showing up to companies and, what do you even do exactly? Different things for different clients. See? That's not a real answer. That's what people say when they're embarrassed about their job. Or lack thereof. Dad finally spoke up. Brenda, maybe we could talk about something else. No, David. Someone needs to have this conversation with her. At my age, I was already regional sales manager. I had a team, a company car, stock options. What does Samantha have? Business cards that say, consultant? I don't use business cards, I said. Of course you don't. Too much commitment, right? Like everything else in your generation. The irony was delicious. MedTech Corp, where Brenda had worked for 12 years, was hemorrhaging money due to lawsuits over their aggressive opioid marketing. That's why Sterling Equity, my private equity firm, had been able to acquire them for pennies on the dollar. We closed the deal Friday. Today was Sunday. Tomorrow, I'd be walking into their headquarters as the new owner. You know what your problem is? Brenda continued, on a roll now. No accountability. In pharmaceutical sales, you have quotas, metrics, real measurements of success. In consulting, you can just float. Make it all up as you go. There's definitely creative aspects, I agreed. Creative. She said it like a curse. Your father mentioned you studied business at Northwestern. Such a waste. That education could have gotten you indoors at real companies. 1 or 2 doors, maybe. If you'd applied yourself. But no, you chose the easy path. Consulting. She turned to my father. We need to stop enabling her, David. No more loans. No more bailouts when her little projects fail. I've never asked Dad for money, I said quietly. Because you're too proud. Which is why you're still driving that embarrassing car and wearing. She gestured vaguely at my simple sundress, whatever this is. Brenda, Dad said more firmly. That's enough. I'm trying to help her. Someone has to be honest. In the real world, the corporate world, appearance matters. Success matters. Stability matters. You're absolutely right, I said. Stability is important. Finally. So you'll let me set up that interview? Entry level, but at least it's a foot in the door. Show up on time, dress professionally, borrow something from me if you need to, and try to look interested when they explain the filing system. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. MedTech doesn't hire just anyone. Even for admin roles, we have standards. The rest of brunch passed with Brenda outlining my many failures and her many successes. The time she'd won Salesperson of the Month. The conference in Miami where she'd networked with major players. The promotion she was certain was coming. Regional Vice President, she preened. My manager hinted it's in the works. Of course, with my numbers, it's obvious. I've been carrying my team all year. Congratulations, I said. See? That's what real careers look like. Linear progression. Clear hierarchies. Not whatever you do, floating from company to company like corporate driftwood. As we waited for the valet, Brenda couldn't resist one final dig. That dress, is it from Target? No judgment. We all start somewhere. I remember when I could only afford discount stores. But that was before I got serious about success. It's comfortable, I said. Comfort is laziness disguised as a choice. Successful people are uncomfortable. That's how we grow. My Honda arrived first. The valet looked apologetic, handing over the keys to the decade-old Civic. Brenda's leased BMW pulled up next, gleaming with implied success. Think about what I said, she called out. Real job. Real future. I'm only hard on you because I care. Monday morning arrived with beautiful sunshine and a series of encrypted messages from my team, transition team in place. Legal has finalized all documentation. IT ready for system integration. Security briefed on potential issues. I dressed carefully. Not the power suit Brenda would expect from a CEO, but a simple gray pantsuit that said competence without ostentation. The kind of outfit that could blend into any level of corporate hierarchy until you notice the details. The perfect tailoring, the $800 shoes that looked like they cost $80, the watch that appeared normal until you recognized the Patek Philippe movement. MedTech Corp's headquarters occupied a gleaming tower in the financial district. I'd been there before, during due diligence, but always after hours with the acquisition team. This was my first time walking through the front door during business hours. Name, the security guard asked. Samantha Chen. I have a 9 a.m. with the transition team. He checked his list, did a double take, checked again. Ms. Chen? The new CEO. Yes. Ma'am, welcome. Let me get you a badge and escort. No escort necessary. I know where the conference room is. The executive elevator required a special key, which the guard provided with shaking hands. As I rose to the 20th floor, I thought about Brenda, probably somewhere in the building right now, preparing for her Monday morning sales meeting. No idea her world was about to shift. The conference room was packed. Legal team, HR directors, department heads, and the outgoing leadership all assembled around a massive oak table. They stood when I entered, corporate reflex when power walked in. Good morning, I said, taking my seat at the head. Let's begin. The next 2 hours were a blur of presentations, transitions, and strategic adjustments. I'd done this before with other acquisitions, but MedTech was special. Not just because of Brenda, but because the company represented everything wrong with pharmaceutical sales, aggressive marketing, questionable ethics, profits over patients. The sales restructuring, my CFO said, sliding a document across the table. We'll be eliminating several regional positions and refocusing on ethical prescribing practices. Which regions? Southwest primarily. That's where the most aggressive tactics have been documented. Brenda's region. At 11 a.m., word went out. All hands meeting in the main auditorium. Mandatory attendance. The rumors had been flying since security guards started updating access badges and IT began password resets. MedTech's 3,000 employees filed in with the nervous energy of people who knew change was coming. I watched from backstage as Brenda entered with her sales team, still confident, still checking her phone for client messages that would never be answered. She'd chosen a seat in the middle, visible enough to be seen as a player, not so front as to seem eager. The outgoing CEO made brief remarks about exciting transitions and new directions before introducing me. I walked onto the stage to polite, confused applause. Most employees had no idea who I was. To them, I probably looked like another consultant. Good morning. I'm Samantha Chen, managing partner of Sterling Equity and your new CEO. I know change is unsettling, but I want to be transparent about our direction. I outlined the vision, ethical practices, sustainable growth, accountability for past mistakes. Then the hard part. Effective immediately, we're restructuring our sales division. The days of pushing volume over patient welfare are over. Some positions will be eliminated. Others will be retrained. Anyone who can't adapt to ethical selling has no place in our future. The auditorium buzzed. I could see Brenda from the stage, her face cycling through confusion, recognition, and dawning horror. I'll be meeting with each department this week, I continued. My door is open. I believe in leading by walking around, not hiding in an executive suite. You might see me in the cafeteria, the sales floor, even the parking garage. Because real leadership means understanding every level of the organization. Questions? Hands shot up. I answered them honestly, about layoffs, minimal if people adapted, about direction, ethical but profitable, about my background, private equity with a focus on distressed assets. Then Brenda stood. Even from the stage, I could see her hands shaking. Do you have pharmaceutical experience? Her voice carried across the auditorium. I have experience identifying what's broken and fixing it. In Medtech's case, what's broken is the culture that prioritizes sales over ethics. The lawsuits speak for themselves. But sales drive revenue. Lawsuits drive bankruptcy. We're facing $2.3 billion in potential litigation from aggressive opioid marketing. That stops now. She sat down hard. Around her, colleagues were already distancing themselves, the corporate survival instinct kicking in. After the meeting, department heads scattered to break the news to their teams. I made my way to the sales floor, where Brenda's manager was already in crisis mode. "Miss Chen," he practically ran to intercept me. "About the sales restructuring, my team has always operated within guidelines, has it? Records show your region has the highest rate of prescriber kickbacks. Dinners, trips, consulting fees that are barely disguised bribes. That's industry standard." Was. Past tense. Behind him, I could see Brenda at her desk, frantically pulling files, probably trying to hide evidence of the very practices I'd already documented. "I need all regional managers in conference room C in an hour," I told him. "We'll discuss who stays and who goes." The meeting was brutal. I laid out the evidence: falsified call reports, kickbacks disguised as speaker fees, pressure tactics on doctors who tried to reduce prescribing. 3 managers were terminated on the spot. 2 others accepted demotions to sales rep positions with retraining requirements. Brenda tried to defend herself. "These were approved strategies. Corporate new. Previous corporate. I'm current corporate, and I don't approve. You can't just come in and destroy everything we've built. I can when what you've built is facing federal investigation. Did you think the lawsuits would just disappear? That patients dying from pills you pushed wouldn't have consequences? I was following orders. And now you're following new ones. Effective immediately, you're on administrative leave pending investigation into your sales practices." Investigation? For what? I pulled up her file on the conference room screen. Falsifying call reports. Providing kickbacks exceeding federal limits. Pressuring physicians to prescribe beyond medical necessity. Should I continue? Her face had gone pale. "I need this job. My car lease, my condo, the BMW you lease to impress clients? The condo you bought with bonuses from pushing pills? Maybe you should have thought about sustainability. Real jobs, as you called them, come with real accountability. You don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You built a life on other people's misery. Now it's crumbling. That's not my fault or my problem." Security escorted her out 20 minutes later, cardboard box in hand. The great pharmaceutical sales success story, reduced to a security escort and a damaged reputation. That evening, Dad called. "Samantha, what happened?" Brenda came home in tears. "Something about her company being taken over?" "Sterling Equity acquired Medtech. I'm restructuring to avoid bankruptcy from the lawsuits." Silence. Then, "Sterling Equity, that's your company?" "One of them. But you said you were a consultant." "I am. I consult with the companies I buy to make them profitable and ethical. It's very fulfilling work." "Brenda's been put on leave. She says you targeted her." "I targeted unethical sales practices. She happened to be one of the worst offenders." "You could have warned us." "When?" "During brunch when she was explaining how I needed a real job? While she offered to get me an interview for an entry-level position at the company I'd just bought." "This is cruel, Samantha." "No, Dad. Cruel is pushing addictive drugs to make quota. Cruel is mocking your stepdaughter for career choices you don't understand. This is consequence. She could lose everything. Then she'll understand what the families of opioid victims lost. Perspective can be educational." He hung up. I wasn't surprised. Dad always chose the path of least resistance, and right now, that meant supporting his wife's victim narrative. Over the following months, Medtech transformed. We settled the major lawsuits, retrained the sales force, and pivoted to non-addictive pain management solutions. Revenue dropped initially but stabilized as hospitals began trusting our ethical approach. Brenda's investigation revealed what I'd suspected: falsified reports, illegal kickbacks, and pressure tactics that bordered on criminal. She avoided prosecution by agreeing to a lifetime ban from pharmaceutical sales and forfeiting her bonuses. The last I heard, she was working as a receptionist at a medical clinic. Entry-level, as she'd recommended for me. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Dad and I didn't speak for 6 months. When we finally had coffee, he looked older, tired. "She left me," he said simply. "Said I should have warned her about you." "Warned her about what?" "That I'm successful? That you're formidable. She thought you were a failure." I let her think it because it was easier than explaining. "Explaining what?" "That my daughter built a private equity empire by 28. That the consulting she mocked was actually corporate turnarounds worth billions. That the old Honda was a choice, not a necessity. Would she have been nicer if she'd known?" He laughed bitterly. "Probably. But that's the point, isn't it? She showed you exactly who she was when she thought you were nobody. And you let her. I did. I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you just sorry she's gone? Both, he admitted. But mostly sorry I didn't defend you. Your mother would be ashamed of me. Mom would understand. She always said you avoided conflict. She also said you inherited her backbone. Guess she was right. We rebuilt slowly, Dad and I. Without Brenda's toxic influence, he remembered how to be proud of his daughter's accomplishments instead of apologizing for them. He even started bragging about my work to his golf buddies. My daughter? Oh, she's in private equity. Buys broken companies and fixes them. Very boring stuff, unless you like making millions while improving lives. As for me, I kept the Honda. It runs perfectly, gets great gas mileage, and reminds me that real success doesn't need to announce itself. It just walks into conference rooms and changes everything. Sometimes wearing a simple sundress. Sometimes carrying a cardboard box. Always knowing the difference between a real job and real impact.